Hi, I'm Bobby Pierre with TAPinto New Providence, and I'm here today with Michael Mascarina from the New Providence Diversity Committee. Welcome, Michael.
Hello, Bobby. Thank you for having me here today.
Well, I can't wait to have this conversation because we're going to be talking about a survey that New Providence is putting out through the schools, and I'm going to help with TAPinto, and we want to find out how this came about. But first, tell us how you got involved with the Diversity Committee.
Yes, so my family, we moved here from Milburn, Short Hills, about 5 years ago. We wanted to move further out, to have a little bit more space, and also we were looking for maybe a community that matched up with our backgrounds.
Okay.
When we first moved to New Providence, we weren't really sure. And my wife did her due diligence. She found out there was a diversity committee. Actually, one of our neighbors invited us to one of the first events, and we really latched onto that. Obviously, I'm diverse. I'm a Filipino American, born here in New Jersey. My wife, on the other hand, is from Oklahoma and came to the area through fashion, working in the city.
Okay. And do you have children in the school district?
Yes. Both of our children, Stella and Lucas, they are in 4th grade and 6th grade at Saltbrook.
Okay.
And what makes our family unique is that they were both adopted here in the United States, and they're both biracial.
Okay.
Just our family composition itself is very diverse and unique. So again, when we came to New Providence, we weren't sure about the demographics. Knowing that there was a diversity committee, we jumped right in and wanted to connect with other families that might have similar backgrounds or unique.
And how did you find that? Is it, do you feel that within this committee you met the families that match up with your family, and how did you feel welcome when you came to New Providence?
Yes. I mean, our little pocket of New Providence is in, I think it was turning over, meaning there was a lot more new families doing the same transition from city or Hoboken, moving to the area. And many of the families had the same sort of backgrounds and kind of path in life. So from that regard, we did feel very welcome.
Great.
But at the same time, we also knew that New Providence was an older community. Mm-hmm. So we're sure about how diverse it would be. But when we came across the diversity committee and our people in our neighborhood, we found that there was a lot of diversity.
And the diversity committee, I have been to several of their events, so we know that they do have events. They want people to be educated, and I'm assuming that's where the survey comes in to get the temperature of the residents and where the diversity committee should be going in the future.
Yes, it's a little bit of history of my involvement with the committee. So at first it was really just going to events, and then last year around this time, I wanted to do some more. Well, no, earlier this year, not last year. I wanted to get involved with more volunteer work or community service within the town. So I reached out to see if they needed some help with the diversity committee. And the first thing that Sunil had done, the head of the committee, said, right. "Oh, you could be on the committee right away." I was like, "Really? That's all I have to do?"
Good volunteers are welcome.
Yes. And then the event they had earlier this year was the Unity Day. And they had a soft launch of this survey that they had created. Okay. And when I stopped by at the Unity Committee's booth for that survey, I started asking questions. How did this come about? What are you guys doing to analyze all the information from the survey? And they said that they were really in the early stages. They hadn't really thought that out yet because it is a volunteer group, and they hadn't really done a big push there. That was just a soft launch. So I said to Sunil, that's kind of part of the work that I do. I'm in talent management for a large construction company.
Okay.
A lot of the work I do in that world, which is within HR, human resources, is taking surveys, understanding how our employees feel about their work environment. And I said, well, maybe I could help with that. And Sunil said, well, why don't you actually take over and do the hard launch for it? And I was just like, really? Is that
But
so?
you have the expertise, so.
Yes, if you want to call it that. So the interest and the passion.
Yeah.
I took the survey myself. I said, oh, this would be great if everyone, as many people as possible, took the survey. The originator of the survey, the person that helped really build it, was Leslie Hall, and she actually moved away from the committee to focus on other things, and the whole survey itself took a year to develop.
Oh, wow.
So
Very well thought out then.
Yes. I mean, if you go back to a year ago, obviously the George Floyd incident came about, and everyone was very passionate about what can we do as a community, as a company. So many different organizations were trying to figure out how can this impact how we do things when it comes to diversity and inclusion. So I think the history is not too clear to me, but from what I understood was that once this happened, New Providence made a statement on their stance on diversity and inclusion, which I think was a very, from what I read, was a very positive message. But then there were people within the community that said, wait, who's making this statement and what is it based on? Like, you could say we're a very diverse and inclusive town, but what's the data that backs it up? Because there are people that were then raising their hand saying, well, no, this happened to me while I was in town, or I know this family feels this way. Has that come to the surface? Are we addressing that? We have to really vet out the types of questions that we're asking so that it can be, they can be measured questions, right? And then the next part was, well, if we want the community to be able to fill this out, we have to understand all the different communication lines that we have, whether it be the borough council, the board of education, and the police department, amongst other organizations in town. And we have to somehow partner with those groups to understand, so that they understand why the survey is going out. Obviously, you can imagine a survey like that going out, some groups might wonder why and possibly feel not necessarily at ease if a survey is going out, and it might be actually about their work when it comes to diversity and inclusion, right?
And it is anonymous, because I just took it as a business owner in town. You're looking for residents and people that do business in New Providence. So I took it. Obviously, there are a few school questions that don't apply to me, but you are very inclusive in getting it out, and you want everyone to participate. Yes.
And so it took Leslie and the diversity committee that whole year to vet through these questions and make sure that the police department, the borough council, and the board of ed were comfortable with the questions, and they understood why they were being asked, and that they could, feel comfortable with releasing the survey amongst their, their constituents.
Right.
And once we got to that point, that's where I came in and had to figure out a launch plan in the midst of going back to school with COVID.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
All these other things.
So from this, so you were going to get this dispersed to the community. People are responding. I know that it went out through the schools already. So now it's going out to the general public. what is the timing of when you want to receive all of the data? And then once you get the data, what's your goal with the results?
Right, right. So we've extended the period just because of timing to go out in through October and now November to collect data. We've actually have a considerable amount of data already, which based on survey best practices, I think we've hit the number that we'd want. But of course, we'd want more individuals and residents and people that work in New Providence to respond to
And
it.
it is anonymous, right? Like
It is anonymous. Yes, yes, it is anonymous. Myself and Sunil do have access to the folks that have responded, but again, we're keeping everything confidential. We are responding to those within the survey that request to be communicated to directly.
Okay.
So there is that step that if someone through the survey says, oh, actually, I'd like to talk about this a little bit more with somebody in the diversity committee, there is that option. So through November, we'll collect all of the data. Come end of November into December, we'll do the analysis. And the objective is to see what the overall feedback is when it comes to race relations and diversity and inclusion in our community, and figure out if there are talking points, things that we could celebrate. I'm just looking at some of the results so far. I mean, many people are very happy and excited to be part of New Providence based on all the community events that we have and just the environment. So there's much to be celebrated,
Right.
but also questions to look at and say, okay, how can we do better? What are the community's blind spots? Not just a particular group or organization in the community, but us as a whole. Like, what are we not seeing when it comes to diversity and inclusion? And what?
Well, and it's nice to hear from everybody so people don't feel forgotten. So there are certain people that might feel a prejudice against it, and people need to be educated about that as well.
Yes, yes, and just based on the work that I do, there's one thing is to collect the survey and publish and say, oh, this is what it's like. But I think the real important thing is to have something actionable. And I think the big thing is we would like to take this information and formulate these listening sessions where the Board of Education, the Borough Council, the police department, and any groups in town can be part of. And we could discuss, again, not only the things that we need to work on, but also some of the great things about the community that we can highlight. But again, it's really also to look at these blind spots and what can we do to improve, whether it be diversity in the school system, how our police department might be perceived by parts of the community, and maybe how we are being represented in a diverse way within the Borough Council. I think those are all things that we hope to address and dig into.
Well, I think it's fantastic. It is a hot topic these days, and I'm happy that New Providence is addressing all of this. Now, to get the survey, is there a website or is it solely through like email distribution? I know I'm going to share it on TAPinto. How can people find this survey?
Yeah, so members of the diversity committee that are part of the diversity committee's Facebook page, there is a posting.
Okay.
A link to the actual survey along with a QR code. So that's one way, but the big one is through the Board of Ed email, hopefully the TAPinto email. And many of the different groups within town have reposted the survey through Facebook and other social media channels.
So that sounds fantastic. We'll get that out. I know that it's a 7-minute survey. I may have completed it in less time than 7 minutes.
Yes.
So it's not very time consuming. what can we look forward to with the diversity committee going forward? I mean, we have the holidays coming up. I'm sure you're part of the holiday festival that will be happening after Thanksgiving. Hopefully I'm not misspeaking. I could be, but could you tell us what we have to look forward to?
Yes, I know. I know that we're putting together a Native American event.
Right,
I
right.
don't have. I think you. It's also posted in TAPinto.
Yes, yes.
So that's something we're looking forward to, and it's really along with the holiday events is to look at the survey results and then work on these listening sessions.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to be one step above of what the diversity committee's done in the past, where in the past, what people do want is to have informative events where you learn about other cultures. I think with these listening sections, it's going to be something where you're not only learning, but you're also working as a community to improve things when it comes to diversity and inclusion. So I think that's really exciting going into this year. And there's thoughts of doing this as a normal way of operation. So not only just doing it one time, but every couple of years, there's new demographics that are moving into town. There's always new things. So there could always be new questions for new surveys. So I think it'll be something where every couple of years we'll release a survey, then spend the next year working on listening sessions and actionable items to help improve the community.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Michael, for spending time with me, and I look forward to working with you and the diversity committee in the future.
Great, thank you so much.